Hey there, it's Delilah, and I'm... Don't laugh! It's serious!
I know!
Hey there, it's Delilah, and... You can't laugh! Okay.
It's not you, it's me. Okay.
It's a breakup line.
Okay.
Hey there, it's Delilah. No, I'm laughing. Hey there, it's Delilah, and I'm here with my friend Zana. Yay! So today we're doing ENFP asks, and what's your Myers-Briggs personality type?
INFP?
Yeah, she didn't remember 10 seconds before this video. So we're going to do ENFP asks and INFP. We have wine so that Zana has liquid courage. and we're going to put her on the hot seat and just ask her different questions about who she is, her personality, what she prefers, and maybe you guys can geek out a little bit with me. So INFP, that means that you're introverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. Does that sound right?
Yes, I definitely think I'm introverted. And then what was the second one?
Intuitive.
What was the other option?
Versus sensing.
What does that mean?
So intuitives are a lot more about theory and idea and concepts, versus sensors are very practical and hands-on. Like they're very in tune with their five senses. And so oftentimes you'll hear sensors talk very in the present, like tense, and some often in the past too, versus intuitives tend to be very much about idea and concepts in the future or in the present as well. Yeah, that's mainly the difference. It's mostly some people like intuitives tend to like intuitive conversations, theory-based conversations. So they like to talk about concepts rather than talking about the practical specific of what's here in the present. That was also a very intuitive way to explain that.
I guess that sounds like me. I don't know.
Okay, so that's intuitive, and then feeling. It just means about how you make your decisions. So feeling versus thinking, it's like, yes, you can use logic or whatever, but with feeling, it means that you're leading more so about, like, at the end of the day, if your emotions or your feelings are leading you away, you're probably going to most likely lean that way versus what's the most logical answer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then perceiving versus judging, it's kind of about how you make, how you really like to organize or order your world or not. Perceivers tend to like to go with the flow. The idea of a schedule is kind of constricting, or like they tend to like to have space to explore, versus a judger needs like structure. They need structure and organization in order to go about life. Yeah?
I guess so. That's what I am.
I guess. And I'm an ENFP, and so same thing, ENFP, I'm just extroverted. And the next layer onto that goes into like functional stacks, which is really interesting. But when's the first time that you ever took the Myers-Briggs thing or ever heard of it?
You probably told me about it and told me to take it. And I did. It must have been...
Wait, really?
I think so, yeah, because you were super into it.
Oh. I make all my friends take Myers-Briggs and type them. So context, I know Zana from school, from college. We both did theater together in college, and we held it down for the race. No, well, kinda. I thought Zana was super cool, Black woman, and I was like, I want to be her friend. And then one day she talked to me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That makes me sound a lot cooler than I was.
But in my head, that's how you were. You were super cool. Anyways, we'll talk about first impressions. But okay, so I probably made you take it or something. And when you first heard about it, what were your thoughts about, like, even hearing it now? When you hear like introverted, intuitive, feeling, perceiving, how do you feel about? Does it accurately fit you? Do you feel like you might be a different space, or are you kind of like, I guess?
I guess it fits me, like, from what I've read about it and what that personality type is, with that combination of those things, it seems like it is me. But I think I could also be other things. I think I'm, you know, in a flow.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a spectrum. But, yeah.
Do you feel like there's any of those that you're kind of like, I might be more in the middle of those than basically... Like, for me, for example, I'm a pretty strong extrovert. Like, I'm not going to doubt that one. But for me, on the feeling and thinking spectrum, I'm a little bit more towards the center. And the same thing, I think, actually, when I originally took it, it said that I was closer to the middle with it was one of them, judging and perceiving, or intuitive and sensing. But where do you think that you, like, are any of those, like, introversion, do you feel like you're...
I think the logical one, whichever one that was.
Thinking versus feeling.
Because I think that I'm a thinker. I definitely am a thinker.
You're a great thinker.
Thank you. I try really hard to think.
She thinks super hard.
I do. I think that one. I think I'm more in the middle. And then I can't remember the other ones. Perceiving and judging, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember what the difference between that one was again.
It's kind of about, like, the organization. So one's more free flow.
Oh, right. That one is hard because I feel like I like structure, but I can, like, go with the flow. Like, I'm really good at, like, going with the flow, but I do like to have, like, structure and, like, a plan and schedule.
Were you, like, naturally like that? Or, like... Because I think there's like your personality, and then this is my personal, like, standing on this, because I know people can say your personality changes, but my personal thoughts are that, like, your personality is what's natural to you, but nature and nurture are a thing, and so I feel like personalities are more nature, and then, like, nurture, or however your life interacts with you, might shape or swing your personality a little bit, but your root of who you are will tend, like, your natural inclinations, they're gonna sway one way or another. And so, like, I've learned through life to be a lot more logical, but if I really look at myself, my natural inclination, even if I ignore it, I tend to go more towards the feeling. Or my natural, like, I have had to learn to be organized to get through life, but I can't stand feeling overly structured. I start to feel claustrophobic. Like, I need to have, like, even within structure, freedom. So if I'm in a job that I'm there from 9 to 5, I want the freedom to be able to choose what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So let's take it one by one.
Okay.
On introversion, do you feel...
I'm definitely an introvert. That's
No, I'm an introvert. Why do you say that?
Because I like my space, and I like my quiet, and I like my zen, and I like, you know, my small, like, tight circle of people, and I don't know, I like deep conversations. Like, it's hard for me to, like, just randomly talk to people about nothing.
Okay. Easy. She's very right. I have to pull Zana's teeth for her to hang out. No, I'm joking.
That's not true.
And then intuitive versus sensing. That's more about, like, the theory and concept. Oftentimes it comes through conversation. And so sensors will be a lot more about, like, what's going on in the moment. They don't like to talk about ideas and concepts and theories alone unless I've noticed, I mean, this is not, don't give me any people coming at me for this, but I'm not talking about all sensors, but I'm saying, like, usually the trend, like, tends to be, like, unless it has something to do specifically with them or people they know or care about, then they're not as interested. So especially Myers-Briggs stuff, sensors tend to be very, you know, unless it has to do with them or their friends.
Yeah. I guess I like talking about theory more than, like, the sensory things. Yeah, I think I'm more
Intuitive. And then feeling, thinking. You said that you felt like you think well.
Yeah, I'm a big thinker, that's for sure. But I also, like, am very into, like, my own intuition and, like, listening to myself and my feelings. And, like, I can't, you know, I use my thinking to get to me where my feelings want me to be, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So, like, if I'm feeling a certain way about a situation, I'm like, okay, how do I start thinking about how to get myself into a place where I'm at peace. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like if I can like feel, like I feel my energy, and if I feel that it's not where I want it to be, then I'm thinking about how to get it back to where I want it to be. But it's all centered around how I'm feeling, but I'm always like thinking about.
But it's something valuable, and like your emotions and things like that. It seems like it's valuable to you in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of times, because thinking is not necessarily like, do you think or not? Because we all think, and then you can have really smart feelers, right?
Mm-hmm.
People like, I think our university we went to was very full of like intuitive feelers, people who were very in tune with their emotions and feelings, but they're extremely smart people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't mean they're not feelers. A thinker just tends to be like, for example, I like using this example. You see a homeless person,
Mm-hmm.
and a feeler might, even at the end of the day, knowing that logically giving them this amount of money will not actually help them in the long run, but you might give it to them out of like listening to you, where it's in tune with your intuition or emotion, or being like, you know what? But a logical person might be a little bit more, hey, this does not make sense. Maybe I'll find a better way to like, because even giving $5 will not be as best as if I went and invested this $5 in a different way. So it's less in tune with where those emotions are, but more in tune with what's the logical perspective on it. Versus a feeler will lean towards, I feel like giving, and my emotions are, in terms of deciding whether or not to give the money. It's okay. I think you're a pretty strong feeler. Okay. But I think you're a very smart woman as well. I think it's why we get along. Last one, perceiving, judging. That's about the organization. So in your dream world, what makes you feel like, when you receive a schedule, do you feel very like, yes? Or do you feel like more, like this is kind of, it can stress you out to have a schedule? Like a strict hour to hour. And see, I'm coming from very biased language, so even then I'm saying, how do you feel about things? Because I'm a feeler, so I care a lot about my emotions, or I value people's emotions a lot more than what's logical. So a thinker might be like, what do you think about a schedule? Like they might use that language, or what makes more sense to you? Yeah. That's my thinker voice.
I think I like schedules. I like planning. I like knowing. I'm like getting out of that habit a little bit more. Like I'm becoming more like whatever, whenever. And I think that's largely because of my boyfriend is very much judging. Or the opposite one. The one
perceiving?
Yeah. He doesn't like I don't want to get into it. But he can just like go with the flow. He's just like a leaf in the wind, And so I think I've become more like that.
But you don't think you're naturally more of a perceiver, or you don't think you're more of like the loosey, flowy going naturally?
I am. Like I don't know. I go with the flow, but I do enjoy planning things. Like I know I like having my ducks in a row.
For your guys' information, even with this video, Zana is all like, I say, let's do a video last minute. And she goes, I don't know, my hair, life, ma. And then she ends up going, okay. Which is definitely a perceiving thing to do. A judge is like, what is the questions? And then I say, do you want to know the questions ahead of time? And she goes, no, we'll just throw them at me. And then, when I talk about the video, she's like, we're just going to have a conversation. Those are all very perceiving ways to go about it.
I don't know. You know, and I don't know.
See, also perceivers are known for not making decisions.
Well, if you would have said that at the beginning, I'm very indecisive. That is true.
Yeah.
I do like planning, though, and being organized.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things that can be tricky, even judging it as like a planning or organizing thing, because, like, I think those are skills that are pushed in our society a lot, and that they're necessary tools to develop regardless. And so it's kind of hard to, like, describe that about where you're at. And you guys, I'm not the best at explaining things, but I don't know. We'll see, and we'll keep the conversation going. And if you guys think that Zana is possibly a different personality type, just, post it in the comments below. Maybe this is good maybe this is good to do on camera. I just turned it back on. Oh. Because, like, what if, I don't know, maybe you're not an INFP. Because, like, as I was saying that, I was like, me knowing you, I'm like, I feel like you care less about, like, harmony, the group getting along, everything going well, than you do about, like, what's authentic and real and just being yourself.
Mm-hmm. So, what?
Let's look it up.
No, I done the test like 3 times.
No, we're just going to look up the functional stack. And we're going to look at it and see if you feel connected to it.
This part will be edited.
Maybe not. Watch, we might leave it in.
Well, in the meantime, this is called the Tito's.
Oh, no, I was wrong.
This is my friend's band that I'm repping. This is my pajama shirt. If you have a chance, go listen to them.
Okay, Tito's on the...
And I also wanted to plug Slow Parade.
You gotta look at the camera.
I'm looking at the camera. I also wanted to plug Slow Parade. They are a local Atlanta Americana folk band. They are great. You should listen to them. They have a new album coming out. But yes, many of you guys have been asking me about my t-shirt and what it means. It is not about the vodka, though I do like the vodka. It's about the band. It's called the band, called the Tito's.
It makes so much more sense, Dana.
What does?
Your stack.
My shirt? Now that
I had your stack wrong. You're right. I was right. I mean, I was right. I was wrong. I was wrong, but it makes sense why we're so, like, why we get along so well. Okay. Because you're functional stack. So, I like to go by this thing called the CAR model, done by Personality Hacker. I mentioned it in the other video, but there are great personality typing, personality general podcasting people. Check them out below. But they have a CAR model they do where, like, your functional stack works as, like, it takes the 4 letters that you have, and then you get, like, a stack of basically, you express everything. So, when people say I'm introvert, extrovert, it's basically saying we all have introverted and extroverted sides of us, but it's just different things that are expressing them, because we all have an inner world, we all have an outer world. And so it's more so about, when you say that I'm an extrovert or introvert, it just means that you lean more towards that world and you have a preference for that. So you prefer to be in your inner world than your outer world, versus I prefer to be in the outer world than the inner world. But that doesn't mean that me being in my inner world is not important for me, even though I am an extrovert, right?
Right, yeah.
That's why people, the extroverted, introverted thing, I can get very... It's not a thing. We all extroverted introverts and introverted extroverts. But, so yours would be FI, which is introverted feeling, NE, and then SI and TE. So Zana's functional stack leads with introverted feeling. Her driver, so this is the person driving your car. Okay. So they kind of guide your direction. And FI is what I was talking about, being that authenticity. So what I was saying? It's, like, more to me about, like, I don't care about whatever anyone wants or anything like that. It needs to be real to me and honest to me. And that's what I'm going to guide with. And that's what I was saying, but you're not a harmony person. Like, me knowing you, I feel like you're always pushing me to be like, just do you. And, like, don't worry about what anything else. And that's your first dominant thing. So that would make sense why I was like, oh, no, you are not extrovert feeling. Because you're not. If it's your dominant thing, it guides you.
Because I can't see.
They don't like anything that seems shallow. They don't like anything that seems fake. Like, the idea of people being fake is, like, the biggest, like, I can't stand fake people. Like, that's the idea, right? Or when people put on a front. The biggest thing is what's authentic to you and what you believe in, your moral and your code. Like, how your values in the world and life. And things have to line up with those values. That's how you make your decisions in life. Does that match with my values? Versus someone who might have something that's a little bit more on the thinking side, might be more so, does this match up with what's logical, what makes sense, right? And so authenticity is more so, does it make sense with my values and who I am and how I feel about things, my intuition, what I believe. Yeah?
That sounds like me. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So it makes sense that you're whatever, an INFP. And now I'm feeling more confident that you are an INFP. Because I was like, yeah, that is such a core aspect of who you are. And then the second, your passenger in the car would be extroverted intuition. Its nickname is like exploration. That's what I lead with. Mm-hmm. So it's like my driver's seat. It's all about like looking for something new, exploring new ideas, concepts in the world. So that's like your extroverted sense. The one in your, like, it's like a 10-year-old process. So like in terms of development, you can think of it like a 10-year-old development of strength. So you're not like an adult. Like the person in your driving seat is the one that does all the heavy lifting in your character and your personality. But the one in the back seat, like they're 10-year-old, they're there. You might rely on them a lot because they're introverted. Because for you, it is SI. So you might rely a lot on your introverted sensing, but it's a 10-year-old worth of strength and ability and understanding.
What do you mean when you say 10-year-old?
Maturity.
Like, it's...
So, like, if the dominant is, like, let's say a grown folk, like maturity, mm-hmm. and the passenger seat may be someone in their 20s, like that strength, like it's very important mm-hmm. and very integral. But when you think of like a 10-year-old in terms of maturity and strength and ability, mm-hmm. that's that process. So introverted sensing in your personality, but it's like at a 10-year-old's capability. But you might prefer it because it's an introverted trait. So introverted sensing...
If you say so.
Introverted sensing is nicknamed memory.
Okay.
And so memory is all about this idea of like referring back to things in the past. It's all about like the details. There's a solid sense of what's right and what's wrong. A lot of it is kind of like based on this idea of tradition, things like that, what's been done before, and like bringing it into your process. But it's also in conflict with your passenger seat. And so it's an interesting place where you're often sometimes go down to your SI and rely on it, but you really need to be focused on your extroverted intuition, because that's where your strength is. But you might want to sit in SI sometimes. It's directly in conflict with your passenger with exploration. For me, SI is my baby. So your fourth one is your baby, the one that's in like a 3-year-old's level of maturity and capability. And sometimes you're very unaware of it, but it is important in your character. Oftentimes it's a thing that you develop and you can reach self-actualization. That and also your passenger seat. It's all the extroverted stuff. But it's like a baby that needs attention. It is there in your functional stack, but you need to give it attention every now and then. But it's like a baby, so it won't do a lot of heavy lifting in your personality. So the adults driving the car will do that.
I feel like I'm getting free therapy. You type this all up and send this to me.
Extroverted thinking is also known as effectiveness. For me and my personality, this can be my 10-year-old, so I over-rely on this. It's like that space of like just getting things done, like that to-do list, things like that. So it's at the bottom of yours, but it's also very, it's something you do need to give attention to.
Oh, what is this again?
Extroverted thinking.
And this is getting things done?
Yeah, so it's a very logic-oriented way of problem solving. When I get stressed, I tend to turn off all my emotion and authentic feelings. And I'll go evacuate to just, let's get it done. Let's figure it out. Let's put it together. And being that I grew up in a very logic-based family, I can easily want to lean into like that space more so than what's authentic to me. And what's important for my personality is I have to go to authenticity and get in tune with what I value, what I believe in, and not just do things to get it done. Otherwise, it won't get done very well because I'm leaning on a 10-year-old to do all my heavy lifting when I should be leaning on the more mature aspects of my personality. So that's the functional stack. That was a brief thing. It's really deep. It's actually really interesting when you get into it. In terms of like the depths of ways you can play in your personality and how they express themselves and seeing the introverted and extroverted sides of you and things like that. But all of that to say, I now feel more confident that Zana is an INFP after going through that. It makes so much sense. So Zana's functional stack is introverted, leads with introverted feeling, authenticity. Next goes to extroverted intuition, which is exploration, then to introverted sensing, memory, and last with extroverted thinking. It makes sense why we get along too, because our top two functional things are the same and our bottom two are the same. It's just flipped. And so what I lead with is in your passenger. So we have the same people in the front of the car. We just switch driver and passenger. And then the same in the back. We just switch the back to the back.
That's interesting.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's because we're made of the same star stuff.
Oh. Okay, perhaps. Maybe we're made of the same star stuff. And that's what's going on here. Thanks, Zana, for being in the video with me and letting me to interrogate you with all these questions and post it for the whole world to see.
You're welcome.
I'm not making it better. But yeah, so goodbye for now, guys. This is our I think second series / video on these Myers-Briggs personality type. If you guys want to see more about Zana, hopefully I might split this video up into parts, and you can click over here near her face, or you can click over here or somewhere anymore else, and in the suggestion box, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and you'll get to see this face and more in your suggestion box. And without anything else, goodbye for now until we make another video. Bye. I can't reach.